in business know that, well, I guess video can be fake too, but with Photoshop you can make anything look like the real thing. Video is a little harder to fool around with, but with software that clearly can be done.
Certainly.
But if it was convincing enough to where people would look at it and go, this cannot be faked, this could not be a suit. There is a famous film called the Patterson Film, which is considered the holy grail in the Bigfoot world. It was shot in 1967. I mentioned it in the opening, 1967 by Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin. And there was a movie, a documentary done about several Bigfoot researchers. But during this documentary, they showed that film to a man named Stan Winston. And Stan Winston is Spielberg's chief special effects guy.
Yeah.
So they asked him, could you take a look at the Patterson film? He had never heard of it. And I think this was pretty interesting. He sat down at a TV monitor and they played the film. 3 seconds into it, he says, that's a guy in a suit.
I'm Stan Winston, and I create characters and creatures for film. We've worked on many films ranging from The Terminator and Aliens and Jurassic Park, The Predator, Congo, etc. Okay, well, basically, it's walking like a man. Basically, there is no structure other than the length of bone, the length of arm, the length of leg, same as that as a human, and there is no structure to the form of the hair. It's a guy in a bad hair suit. Sorry. For a few $100s, they could have done this. For under $1,000 in that day, they probably could have had this suit made. If one of my colleagues created this for a movie, he'd be out of business. There was a gentleman, Janusz Prohaska, I believe what his name was. He was known for ape suits and creating ape suits. It was before 1967. And technically, his suits were far beyond what we're seeing here.
Mr. Prohaska, you mentioned that the creature did not move, as if it were a costume. Do you think it would be possible to create such a costume?
That would be a difficult... I don't think so. Because that costume, if it would be a costume, that would have taken such a long time to put the hair. You should put the hair by glue on. That would take about 10 hours, the whole makeup job. And it looked to me very, very real. I'm doing this since 1939, and if that was a costume, that was the best I have ever seen.
There's a huge fascination with the unknown, and I think that that's healthy. We do that in film, all those things that we want to say, boy, wouldn't that be cool, and I hope that's real. And I really want there to be a Bigfoot. I want there to be this creature out there that is just benevolent and sweet and big and hairy and that wouldn't hurt anybody but is big and strong. And I want to believe that. And that's why I'm in this business, not because I believe, but because I want to believe. And we should never kill our fantasies.
And I don't remember whether Winston helped them try to recreate it, but they attempted to recreate it with their big budget and with a special effects suit and with cameras and whatever. They failed miserably. The guy in the suit looked awkward. He looked a good 300, 400 pounds lighter than the Patterson Film guy. So I think, even though Winston may be correct, the fact that even to this day no one can reproduce that film, duplicate it, means that there's a strong possibility that they may have filmed something that day.
You mean anything?
Okay, how would you explain, to try to defend the Patterson Film, Patterson at that time could not have been aware of digital technology, computer, photo enhancement, Photoshop, this type of stuff. how do you explain that over time, as computer analysis becomes more and more sophisticated, that more and more perplexing detail is brought out that shows, like on the face of Patty, you see the hair growing out of the cheek with bare spots, which is what you would expect on a real animal, where a suit would have just, all hair with hokey looking.
The close-ups that I've seen that are digitally enhanced are taking a very small piece of a grainy film frame and enhancing the living daylights out of them to where it may be over-artifacting and creating artifacts where none actually existed to begin with. It's not digitally enhanced, it's almost digitally inventing. The close-ups
Yes.
I've seen that are the most convincing look like a caveman mask to me.
So I'm not a big believer in the Patterson film, but I'm leaning more towards it being real than it being fake. Because how do two guys that are basically broke California cowboys pull off such a high-tech type of a hoax that 40 years later, with computer software and digital enhancement, details are being brought out in the film that are amazing. Like hair growing out of the face, the fact that the animal had mammary glands. These would be details that two hoaxers who were looking for a quick buck wouldn't fool with. Why would you? We're going to sell some stills to a magazine and make $900.
Yeah.
Screw it. Now the guy put the suit on and walk and we'll do it.
Right.
But
Yes.
Okay.
Probable hoax. When you take into context everything, including what Gimlin, who he was, Bob Gimlin, where he went after that, who Roger Patterson was, what he was doing, what he stood to gain, what Gimlin stood to gain, where they were at the time in their careers, who they knew, the companies they worked for, and Patterson's reputation.
Right.
Now, Patterson, I believe, went to his grave still defending the Bigfoot film.
Well, and Bob Gimlin, who is still with us and in his late 80s and doing very well health-wise, he still makes appearances at Bigfoot conventions, and he still maintains that he and Roger shot a genuine Bigfoot. Now, not to say anything even remotely critical of Mr. Gimlin, could it be just that now that he's like a superstar in Bigfoot, he just doesn't really want to give up that notoriety?
That's it exactly. His identity is now tied into this film.
Because he always wears the cowboy hat when
Sure.
he goes, but he's from out west, so that may not be unusual. You always wear a Jimi Hendrix hat.
Right.
So, okay.
If it were conclusively proven that the film was a hoax, he'd have no more career left. But since the only witnesses are either dead or missing to the entire affair, except Gimlin, he has really nothing to lose by keeping it up.
Okay, one.
for centuries, the Native American Indians in the South have told stories about a large, hairy man that lives in the swamps and the pine forest. And with the continuous amount of sighting reports and with newly discovered evidence like your footprints that you found and the prints that I have found and what others have come across, tells me that this may be more than just folklore. But a skeptic would say, well, hasn't science classified every animal on Earth? What are you talking about? Well, Michael Crichton, in his preface to Jurassic Park, said that it was only man in his arrogance that believed he could control and understand the forces of nature in its totality, that there are contingency factors that we're completely unaware of. Hence he had the metaphor of the dinosaur experiment that went crazy because man was ignorant to what the potential of that could be. So
How could I know that? All I can say as a skeptical person is, you tell me you saw a Bigfoot, you tell me you have a film of a Bigfoot, I like to say, where is your evidence? Is this your evidence? Is this all you have? Is this an eyewitness? Can it be photographed again, you know, it'll appear tomorrow. If it's just a blur on a piece of film, that's good as far as it goes.
Part of the scientific process is repeatability. So if you need to know if coyotes exist, then you can repeatedly show skeletal evidence, photographic evidence ad infinitum that these animals actually exist. Even bears and every animal.
Well, if you see a wolf pack off in the distance and you take pictures of it, of course we know they're a wolf pack, so it's not that incredible, but let's say you've seen them for the first time, then you tell me, I can also go to this place on the side of the mountain and get pictures of wolves. I can get a third party to also go, and they can go. But with Bigfoot or UFOs, it's like, bang, it's here today, gone tomorrow. It's a flash. You got a blurry picture. Where did you go? Don't know. It's gone.
The point I'm making is that we have only had the scientific tools necessary in the last century to even begin to understand the cosmic forces that have created this universe, created this earth that we live in. And it's not all that you can see. I like to say you have the seen and the unseen, the worldly and the otherworldly, the enigmatic and the anomalous, which science cannot explain.
And getting back to Roger Patterson, the romantic notion is that because the appearances of Bigfoot in broad daylight were so rare, are so rare.
Because they believe it's a nocturnal creature, so...
And hides in the woods.
And hides in the woods.
You get him out in the open, then it's a very special thing, and he caught a rare moment. There should be research done. But I believe there is a cabal of people, researchers, let's call them, the ones who make convention appearances, the ones who write books and make documentaries, who make money from this because they know it can be a perpetually a question without end, without resolution, something that can be exploited for a lifetime.
In perpetuity.
In perpetuity. If it's a question that cannot be answered, then you are basically making a career out of what if. What if the Patterson film is real? What if there is a Bigfoot? What if there is life coming here in flying saucers? Well, as long as there is an audience you can sell that to, there is an audience who will make you money.
Right.
And that is an exploitation and a rich mind to vein.